Welcome back, everyone. As I said about a month ago, this is next week's episode, so clearly consistency hasn't been the recipe for success lately. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. For those of you that have a Jeep, pick up a spare Z-case fuse array. This is what it looks like. It is inside the fuse box located under these terminals. If you don't, and it goes on you, which eventually it will, you will be stranded pushing your car into a supermarket parking lot because it won't start at a light. So that was a thing that happened. Otherwise, the last couple of weeks have just been crazy with work. I got sent on a last-minute travel, so that took me away from home, took me away from working on this some more. I've been working on my project car, doing some welding, got some pretty good burns from that. So it's been interesting, but I'm ready to calm back down, get back into the routine here. And the good news is that this episode and the next one will be relatively consistent because I've mostly done with the next episode as well, and I'm trying to work a little bit ahead this year. Before we get started, something important has to be done because I'm tired of my airbrush not working, like this. For anybody getting ready to drop an angry comment, that was after I cleaned it and I got nothing out of it. So here's what we're doing. Yep, I bought myself an upgrade. I bought a Badger Patriot. So that's going to be switched to halfway through this video. You should see a dramatic increase in airbrush quality. But anyway, so here we go. We're going to start masking the wheels. I'd like to make a comment of this kit's quality can be seen in the injection moldings of the landing gear doors. In these images, you can actually see the residuals of the injection molding process. The injection ports were in the middle of the doors on the inside. So, I mean, realistically, yeah, like if you're doing this as a quick hobby and you're just doing this casually, you're not going to see them. For me, it's annoying. I tried to sand them out and file them out as best as I could. They were pretty down into pretty small contours, so I did what I could, and I'm just going to live with it. They're on the bottom of the aircraft. You're not going to see them too much anyway. In the previous shot, you could also see the injection moldings on the missiles. They weren't too bad since they were on the fins, so they're on a flat surface. You can at least sand them out, which is exactly what I did. But yeah, the landing gear doors are just annoying. Anyway, we're going to start with working on the accessories. That's what this video is about. So landing gear, the stores, the landing gear doors, just things of that nature. So we're going to start out priming the landing gear. This, I think, is actually the first kit I have primed most of the accessories. Usually I just spray them flat out to their final colors, and I don't worry about priming them. I think I just made that decision kind of unconsciously. I don't remember sitting there thinking, you know what, I'm going to prime this. But I did it, and I mean, it works. I'd have never had an issue with not priming accessories anyway. Priming really is best for when you've got a lot of different color changes going on. And so getting the paint to adhere to the model and not the tape where you're masking it is a beneficial thing, and for doing decals in the future. So with the landing gear primed, we're moving to the doors. The MIG-29 has an aluminum finish on the inside of its doors. It's just the bare aluminum that the doors are made out of. So we're going to be using Alclad. I bought some Alclad primer, which is black, and that's what I'm trying to spray here. I'm still having airbrush issues because this is before I actually did the switch chronologically. So the inside of all the doors is the bare metal finish that we're going to spray with Alclad, and the exterior of the doors is the same gray color that the bottom of the aircraft is. So we'll go ahead and throw that on there now. The clips did leave a little spot behind, but that's easily filled. It's not an issue. Or you can just wait until your paint color is dry, your paint coat's dry, and then just move the position of the clips. It's not an issue. As you can see here, my entire pegboard was full of accessories, so I was getting pretty taxed for space there. I went back and I did refinish the drop tank and try to get rid of the seam line. I noticed actually as I sat and watched the video the seam line is still there on this side. It's more prevalent in the video than it is actually in real life. I think it's just the way that the lighting is situated for the camera. I'm still playing around with what I'm going to do with the camera long term, but for now, based on where the lighting and the camera is, you can see the seam line. So I may address that a little bit later off camera. I'm not going to make you sit and watch me sand and redo the same thing I've done, but it doesn't show up too much in the actual model, and I'll take a look at it and decide what I'm going to do. So I'm just wrapping up at this point, priming for the alclad. I had not done either of these doors. I had dropped the main landing gear door, which is the one on the right, and just lost it. It took me a while to realize that it was missing, and it was just sitting under the desk. The longer ones, the nose landing gear door, I had to sit and try to grind off the injection marking or injection moldings or injection points for the mold, whatever, and then refill it and then sand that. I actually didn't notice that the main landing gear door had its remaining ones. I must have just had a brain fart. So I don't think I ever actually went back and fixed that. But again, this kit I'm not going super in depth with. I'm not going super detailed with. If I had, I would have cut all the lines off the landing gear for the brake lines and actually put wire in. Usually it's a little bit truer to scale and a little bit more, a little bit more detail. You can route it exactly how it would be on the actual aircraft. I have been trying to find out what the line is on the nose landing gear, because typically you don't see that in aircraft. Nose landing gear don't have brakes because that would be unstable. But either way, so here we are adding the alclad. You're going to notice a lot of focusing issues with my photography here. Just getting everything in focus while trying to work was a back of the mind kind of thing, apparently. No, I did actually make a good effort, but was unsuccessful in keeping everything in focus, so just bear with me. I'm still working on what I'm going to do long term for photography. The kit comes with some medium-range R-27 missiles. It also comes with some short-range R-73 air-to-air missiles. So now that both sets of missiles are primed, I'm going to add some Mascol in between the fins because we need to spray the alclad primer. The R-27 fins are a bare aluminum finish, and so I wanted to try and protect the primer as much as possible, so I used some Mascol. It worked okay. I was just giving it a shot because masking it was going to be a pain. I think what realistically would have been a better technique would have been to mask, or not mask, sorry, excuse me, go ahead and prime the alclad primer onto the fins first, and then mask them off with tape. I think that would have been more successful and given me a better finish outright. But this did work. I just had to go and do some repetitive touch-up, which got a little bit more time-consuming than I would have liked. So, learn from me. Try to do your masking as simple as possible. It's not so much a concern as far as, going light to dark or dark to light. Just try to do it as easy as possible so that you're not sitting there struggling. Again, you can see there's an ejection mold point on that missile that I missed. It is what it is. This kit, again, is a cheaper kit. I'm not as focused on building it super high quality. I'm going to make excuses all day long for this. Doesn't matter. So yeah, anyway, we're on to the alclad point. We're doing the front and rear fins. Those front fins on this kit are very delicate. I also think I clipped off the point that's supposed to be inserted into the main fuselage of the rocket or of the missile. So I further destabilized it on accident. So I had to be really careful with my front fins, but it's something that wasn't immediately evident to me when I took it off the sprue. So I do believe I took off that interface point. So if you're building this kit, be careful and pay attention to that. Otherwise, the fit's not very, very good if you take off the part that's supposed to fit into the other part. So main landing gear wheel or landing gear wheels. I think these are mains, and I think that's the nose. I went ahead and used Mascol for the middle of the hub. I have always had issues trying to keep the hub clear of any black paint, and it's something I try to take my time on. I guess because of my work in landing gear, I'm pretty sensitive to it. Make sure you thin your paint. And one of the things I've been noticing recently is actually people weathering their tires. And that's something we might try. I might try that a little later to make them look used and dusty and not like they've just come out of the factory, as brand new rubber. So we'll do that. Again, bear with me on the focus. Trying to keep this in the focal range of my camera was an absolute nightmare. And I was not watching the camera screen the entire time. I did check it relatively frequently, but as you can see in this shot, I did not check it consistently. Yeah, I just wanted you guys to see the landing gear doors. That's all. Look at that metal finish. Okay, back at it. So the hubs on the MiG-29 are actually green. I was not expecting that. I was expecting them to be white, but that is, I guess, from the predominantly American and British planes that I've been building lately before this. So yeah, they're green. It's pretty cool. It's pretty different. I need to go back and check on the kit because the MiG-29s have mud guards around their nose landing gear. I don't know that my kit has those. So that's something. If you were to do a hyper detailed model on this aircraft, you could go in and, if you have a 3D printing experience, if you have a 3D printer, you could easily make something like that. I will be checking my sprues to see if it's there. And we'll probably include that in the finished detail video that will come out, probably part 7. Part 6 is going to be decals, and let me tell you, I've put probably 20 hours into decaling this aircraft so far, and it's a lot. I will say that the next shot is going to have my new airbrush in it, so we're going to watch it real time with sound. I'm not going to lie, people, it was super satisfying using that airbrush for the first few times, and actually it still is. So I was doing the chrome alclad finish to the actual piston for the landing gear there, and I was just amazed that airbrush has as much control as it does for doing detail. I didn't even have to mask the torque arms, so the torque arms are a little triangular linkage. It lets the landing gear compress in and out without losing its directional stability. There's your lesson for the day. But I didn't even have to mask those. There was no overspray. It was very tight onto exactly where I wanted it to be, and it's giggle-worthy satisfaction. So I was very happy with it, and I'm looking forward to painting more of the aircraft, and especially the next aircraft or 2 aircraft, because there'll be 2 in the next series, if you will, playlist, built simultaneously. But anyway, not too much of a spoiler on that, but I have all the parts ready to go. So, going to continue with the landing gear. We have already painted the pistons, and we are now I am now going to go over and put I put a flat white on. Usually landing gear are gloss white, but I didn't want it to look too new. After a little bit of service, that glossiness tends to go away on most aircraft. You tend to cover with dirt, and these are going to be weathered in the next, well, not the next one, but I think I said it's part 7 is going to be, detailing and weathering. So in that one, you will see some footage of the landing gear getting weathered. I did test weather one of the gear during this part, but I didn't record footage of it just because I wanted to see how it was going to work first. Once everything's painted, we go ahead and attach the wheels to the landing gear struts. So the MiG-29 is interesting, as several other Eastern European fighters are, that they've got pretty drastic caster angles on their nose landing gear. I think that's part of the design for unimproved runway surfaces, just to give a little bit more stability to the nose landing gear. NASA actually has a pretty good video somewhere, I'll link it if I can find it, of studying steering damping. If you touch down with certain dynamics on your landing gear, you'll end up with a steering oscillation. So having a good caster helps prevent that, or helps stabilize it quickly. The main landing gear wheels, the mounting holes for them to go under the struts weren't fully cleared out. I actually I think I traded wheels there trying to see if either one would fit, and they didn't, so I had to go back and clear them out with a little drill bit. Once I did that, they installed just fine. I'm leaving the uneven green just because it looks, it looks a little older. It looks like the wheels have been damaged by dirt and debris. I'm fine with that. And yeah, so don't forget to like, subscribe if you're interested in continuing on with this build. Part 6 will be coming soon. While we're wrapping up here, I did find my picture of the MiG-29 from the Pima Air and Space Museum. The MiG-29 was purchased from Moldova, and it is on loan from the Museum of the Air Force. It was pretty cool to see while doing this build. And anyway, I'm looking forward to getting to part 6 and working on decals. See you all there.